Welcome back to the Muslim Street. You're listening live from WTAN 1340. Again, we're speaking with Yahsmin today about the history of hip-hop, the influence of hip-hop, the channels of hip-hop. You're listening live. You can join us for this last segment of the show, and feel free to call in at 727-441-3000 or toll free at 1-866-826-1340. You can also Facebook us your questions, which people have really enjoyed doing. I guess people get nervous on the radio. But we're having a really interesting conversation about the history of hip-hop and the influence of hip-hop and the really cultural significance of hip-hop music and the act of hip-hop music. Malik?
Yeah, I had a couple of international experiences that I'm sure came out of the hip-hop movement in this country. I think it was the first time I mentioned earlier, I was in Kumasi in Ghana in 1991 and 1992. And the young brothers, the young Ghanaian brothers, they would come up to me talking about hip-hop artists like Kool Moe Dee and Big Daddy Kane and Public Enemy. And you know, I remember a couple of them in conversation as we were just talking about rap. They used the N-word to me, you know, and they didn't mean it in a negative way. They were only repeating things that they heard from the rap culture in the United States, and then different artists going back and forth with the N-word. And it also happened to me when I was, believe it or not, on Hajj. I was on Hajj, and maybe 2 weeks before Hajj, I was in Medina before the Hajj started. And I was doing some volunteer coaching of a basketball team, and this young Saudi Arabian Arab boy, maybe about 11 years old, who was on the basketball team on the bus back as we were dropping him off. He used the N-word at me, and through a translator, I was able to educate him on that. And again, he did it in the same spirit that the brother from Ghana did it. And they were repeating what they have heard, you know, what they heard during some of the rap music that they listened to. So we knew that the influence of rap has spread it to all corners of the earth. And I think that what I've seen in my travels in Sudan and Egypt and different parts of the Maghreb, down in Ghana and Senegal, I've seen the indigenous people of those countries, even in the Middle East, where they have taken their experiences and they have started rapping in their own music about their own experiences. So it definitely evolved from what they were doing when rap's inception in the United States, of just mimicking these rappers, to sort of formalizing their own thoughts and doing their own creativity out of their own experiences. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. There's a really engaging film about occupied Palestine, and it's a documentary titled Slingshot Hip Hop. And it talks about, it goes into the different MCs that have come up out of the territories and their experiences with an apartheid in their homeland. And they've used their lyricism to highlight their struggle and to tell the world about their struggle. Now, many of them have problems with production and technology just because there's such limited resources in the occupied territories, but they've received some, you know, external financing or whatnot, and then had these people come and actually make a documentary about them. So if listeners tonight have a chance to check out that documentary, it's titled Slingshot Hip Hop, and it's about a few groups that come out of Palestine. It's an amazing documentary, very emotional, but I think that anyone would be able to identify with their story and their struggle to get their stories told via hip-hop. But, you know, you're seeing it from continent to continent, that it's just a tool for self-expression and cultural preservation that's being used among the youth especially. And because they hear it through, you know, our media first, yeah, they do take it and personalize it and brand it as their own. And I'm sure it's appreciated within their own mother countries. And hopefully they get an opportunity to use viral media and put it out there to the larger the larger population. Like, how do we find out about these groups, that are coming out of the occupied territories? We found about it, if we didn't hear them beforehand, we saw it in the documentary. And they're worth listening to, worth supporting, especially considering their circumstances. So that's one example. Of course, all throughout Africa, from north to west to east, there's a lot of refugee artists that have come out of East Africa and have been, relocated elsewhere. Kanan is one of them, who grew up in Canada, but he's originally from Somalia. So he's a strong voice for his people, and people respect him all around the planet. He's doing very well for himself, but most importantly, he's sharing his story about their plight as Somalians and their country and the strife that they have there with his audience. And otherwise, people may not know about that. So these are, in a way, a certain kind of leadership is coming from this entertainment. You know what I mean? Which changes the fact that it's entertainment to begin with, when you see that young voices and young leaders are emerging from this movement.
Yahsmin, right when I got to the radio station today, Malik is always very generous and always willing to give me gifts. But he gave me a copy of The New Muslim Cool, which I have heard about a lot. I've heard about it from friends. I've heard about it from Malik. But have you seen it? Have you seen the documentary?
Absolutely. I actually, when it premiered in San Francisco, I spoke on the panel following the premiere. And I'm good friends with the brothers from Mujahideen team. They were actually my first subjects in one of my first published pieces. And so my first interview to be published in print was with Mujahideen team. And they're the main cast from New Muslim Cool. And also, shout out to the producers and the directors, because it's all women produced. Like, they're all women.
Mashallah. Yeah, I've heard that. I know that the director is a woman, and I've heard really good things about it. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching it. Again, that was The New Muslim Cool. And it's something that transcends race, ethnicity, class, religion, the hip-hop culture. And I think that's what these documentaries portray. It's not just that initial thought of this is a music genre. These documentaries really relay the imagery and the profound meaning and the power of hip-hop. And it's it's like a social locomotive for communities. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching that.
Yeah, Yahsmin, can you tell us what about some of your projects that you're working on? Give a shout out to some of your websites. And before you do that, as you may well know out in the listening audience, Yahsmin was the subject of On the Muslim Street under Muslim Mosaics, which is a project that we're working on during the course of the year of sort of profiling very interesting Muslim individuals from around the world. And Yahsmin was our first one that we profiled. And you can find that article on Yahsmin at themuslimstreet.net under Muslim Mosaic. Can you tell us about some of the projects you're working on right now?
So currently, I've been in the studio working on my audio anthologies. So it's a collection of personal narratives and memoir and some sort of like poetry. I wouldn't label it as poetry in the traditional sense, but these are bite-sized pieces of my personal writing that I intend to self-publish within the next 2 years. And so I chose to move my podcast model from interviewing Muslim artists and featuring music from Muslim artists to sharing my own personal work. And this podcast has been a good way to do that. So each episode is, it's no more than 15 minutes long, and it'll include a part of work that will be published very soon. Yeah. So that's one main thing that I've been working on. But I also teach during the day, so that keeps me busy also.
Critical thinking and creative writing. Wow. Who do you teach? What is
I work with 7th and 8th grade students in Oakland, and I teach a class that's called Seminar, and it's almost like a critical thinking class for young people on the college prep level. So it's a lot of reading and writing and discussion groups, which is something that they need to be prepared for because that's how it'll look once they get to college. And so it's been an honor working with this group. Last year I taught them, the same group of kids, visual arts in the afternoon. So it's like an elective class, and we do it. We get together at the end of the day, and they've learned a lot, and I've seen a lot of self-development come out of it so far. So that's the main intention, is to get some college prep in there, but also to help them understand themselves, that they're at a really tender age and a tender time where things are confusing for them as young people. But this reading and writing helps them facilitate some of that growth.
Definitely. And again, as Malik mentioned, today joining us on the show is Yahsmin, Mayaan, Binti, BoBo. And you can learn a lot more about Yahsmin and her story on the Muslim Mosaic, which is a 12-part series that we're doing on the Muslim street, kind of to profile the vast, diverse, and the changing face of the Muslim experience here in the United States. Yahsmin, I really want to thank you for joining us today on the show. It's been really interesting, and I really want to thank you for kind of delivering the message that hip-hop is not just a music genre. You know, I never really thought of it today. I've been thinking about the show for a while now, but I never really thought of it as kind of like it's this experience, it's a legitimate culture, and it encompasses art, it encompasses the music and the dance and the community development and leadership, and it's been really, really great talking to you.
And most of all, it's so empowering for underrepresented youth everywhere, no matter where they are. Definitely. And so that's who we should all be advocating for. But the fact that we have, they have this outlet now is it's an empowering force. So
and that's what makes hip-hop so attractive, is that it gives a voice to those that feel disenfranchised, to the youth that feels disenfranchised, to the minority communities, and it's motivating, it's empowering, it's something that gives people hope. And I think the documentaries that were mentioned today on the show are definitely good things to look into. We mentioned The New Muslim Cool, we mentioned Slingshot Hip Hop. There's many other things, there's many artists to look into. We'll keep you updated on the muslimstreet.net. Please definitely look into that, and we'll connect you with some awesome hip-hop music there.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, and also, Yahsmin, please send a shout out to what I think is a intellectual renaissance that's going on out in the South Bay area, the Islamic Renaissance with Imam Zaid Shaka and Hamza Yusuf and all of the scholars, and highlighting this ijtihad that's taking place. So it's a beautiful thing. And again, you're always welcome in the Muslim Street. Feel free to, if you want to blog on our website at muslimstreet.net. Today, as we close out, Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday with Yahsmin, Mayaan, Binti, BoBo. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.